Your questions, my answers. It's AskETJ. Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of AskETJ. You know how it works by now. I post a picture on my Instagram. If you're not following me, please do to get your question in for next time. And you guys send me questions about pronunciation, about me, about British culture, about whatever you want, really. And then I go through and pick the best ones because there are way too many for me to choose from. And then I make a video like this where I talk and answer your questions. And the first question I was asked, that's right, we're going straight into this. Elliott, how do natives feel when non-natives are speaking English? I mean, it's a very broad question, isn't it? How do you feel when a non-native speaks your language? Confused? Stressed? Happy? Sad? How does it make you feel? I know myself, I just feel like it's normal. We have so many non-natives living here in the UK. They're accepted with open arms and we love talking to them, meeting them, listening to what they have to say, that as long as they have a good understanding of grammar and can hold a conversation, then things are okay. Obviously, pronunciation, being a pronunciation specialist, I know it plays a big part because if you're pronouncing a load of words and sounds wrong or you have particular habits, then it can make it difficult for us. And then that's when it might make some natives feel a bit anxious listening to you because maybe your pronunciation is difficult to understand and we feel bad for having to ask you to repeat yourself all the time. That's the only negative I would say. We wouldn't have any bad feelings about you speaking English. It might just be that we feel bad ourselves that we can't understand perhaps some things you're saying and we need to keep asking you to repeat. So it's more about the fact that we don't want to be rude. So don't worry. Practice. You need to practice speaking with natives. It's the only way you're really going to improve, particularly your pronunciation. Negotiate or negotiate? Now, me personally and most of the public will say negotiate. Negotiate with the sh sound. It's more of an old-fashioned, perhaps upper RP thing to say negotiate. You will find it from RP news presenters on BBC News as well. But nowadays with more of a contemporary style of RP, which is spoken in the South, which is what I teach. I only teach kind of Southern modified modern RP. Most people nowadays would just say negotiate. Just like with the other word, which is do we say schedule or do we say schedule? I've actually mentioned this in 2 videos, but people still keep asking me this question. Let's hope millions of people watch this video so I never have to answer this again. It doesn't matter. Just like negotiate or negotiate, schedule or schedule, nobody cares when they're listening to you. As long as you say one of the 2 and we can understand you, that's the most important thing. So negotiate, negotiate. Schedule, schedule, tomato, tomato. Actually, no, do say tomato because that's how British people say it. We won't get into that one today. Next one, Elliott, can you explain the use of the word rubbish? We use rubbish in a variety of ways. Well, actually, let's start with the basic way, which is an American would say trash. We say rubbish, meaning litter. Packets of, crisp packets, paper, things need to go in the bin. We call that rubbish. And we might call the bin a rubbish bin. But rubbish can also have, we can say that if something was really bad, let's say I saw a really bad movie, I could say that movie was rubbish. I could also call that movie a film, by the way. So that film or that movie, that was rubbish, meaning it was very bad. Also, if somebody is telling me a story and I don't believe it, maybe I think what they're saying is untrue, I could say, you're talking rubbish, meaning what you're saying is rubbish, meaning what you're saying, I don't believe, it's not true, stop lying, rubbish. Obviously, also, if something is really bad, we could just say, oh, that's rubbish. It's a bit like saying that sucks, right? That's rubbish. Used with the correct intonation, this word can be amazing. Really important word. Now, there might be a few other ways of using it, but those are the main ways, okay? How important are consonants at the end of words? I think they're really important. With the T in particular, sometimes we will, sometimes we won't. Depends what mood we're in, where we're from. what accent we were brought up with, all kinds of different things. With the T, you can be a bit more varied, and with a few other sounds. But generally, I think with sounds like the S and Z, really, really important. Now, I do have one more tip for you. Try to pronounce your consonants as much as you can at the end of words. But one thing I really want you to do is understand that when we have a voiced consonant at the end of a word, it's not as voiced as it would be at the beginning of the word. Let's say the word very. Okay, say it with me. The. Put the top teeth on the bottom lip. The. Very. Very. Right? Very. Now, say the word save. 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 When I say very, I'm really pushing the V sound out. I'm voicing it. There's a strong voiced consonant sound coming out. V. Very. Right? But when we have this voiced or any voiced consonant at the end of a word, you will find that it becomes a mixture of unvoiced and voiced. We just voice it less. This is just how it works. So, save. Yes, I'm still producing a vibration in my throat. I'm still using my vocal cords. It's not just an unvoiced sound. I'm actually making noise, but it's a little bit less than it would be if it were at the beginning of a word. So just remember, voiced consonants, we need to make sure they are voiced. We have to get that tiny bit of voice at the end. If we don't, it might confuse listeners. So make sure you're at least getting a tiny bit of voice in there so that we know it's a voiced consonant and it's a V and not a F, okay? We don't want it to sound like safe, do we? We want it to sound like save. So that tiny bit of voice at the end, safe, save, there's a big difference, okay? And it's just that tiny bit of voice which I add to the end. Elliott, can you please talk to me about the difference between a and Wow, now there's a whole lesson in my course comparing these two sounds and you can learn them in detail. You can join my course by clicking the link in the description below or going to etjenglish.com and improve your whole British accent. But if you are looking to kind of get a quick fix, then let me just quickly explain. A in a word like at. Look at my mouth. A. I'm spreading my lips slightly, but my tongue is right at the front of my mouth at the bottom. Okay? At. Make sure you spread your lips just slightly. Okay? It's a forward-facing vowel. A. Now the sound, lots of people get confused between a and Now look at my tongue. You should be able to see it when I lift from a to I'm slightly lifting my tongue, but also I'm pushing it back just a little bit. So I'm sliding my tongue back slightly so it's central. Okay, central, and then I'm lifting it. My mouth is very neutral. I'm not opening it wide. I'm not doing a big smile. I'm just opening it slightly, relaxed. So look at the difference of my mouth shape. Spread. Okay. Let's try bat, 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 but. Or let's say at, up. So all in all, just to quickly summarize, for the sound, tongue down at the front of the mouth, open it wide, spread your lips slightly, For the sound, you need to kind of lift your tongue up a bit into the central area of your mouth, so in the middle of your mouth, and I want you to kind of relax your mouth neutral. But it's when we start adding consonants to them and other sounds and it becomes a word and we have to start talking fast, that's when pronunciation gets difficult. You could pronounce a vowel sound absolutely perfectly on its own, but when you start trying to say it in words, that's when it can start to get really difficult and you start making mistakes. particularly when you have to start talking to a native. Now, I just have one more question, which was, Elliott, how do you order at a pub? Now, for me, I would just say, can I have a pint of whatever? A pint is the biggest glass we do, which is what most people get. Okay, so if you want to just sound like a normal British person in a pub, and if you drink alcohol, of course. If you don't drink alcohol, don't order a pint of beer, obviously. But if you do drink alcohol, go into the pub and say, can I have a pint of, point to the beer you want. You know, they have them on the taps. But let's say you don't want a whole pint. Maybe you're driving, or maybe you just need to be careful. You don't want to get drunk, or if you're like me and 1 pint and you're absolutely smashed, then order half a pint. Now, we sometimes just call it a half pint. So, for example, can I have a half pint of this beer, please? Okay, half pint. So you have pint or a half pint. There are a lot of different styles of beer. You just, if you haven't been to the UK and haven't kind of worked out the lingo in pubs, you just have to go out there and listen to the person next to you when they order, and just copy them, and you'll learn. Okay, but the main thing is just don't sound rude. Make sure you say, can I have, or could I have, and then, of course, finish with the word please. So that's all the questions I can fit into this very short lesson. I'm so sorry. The other benefit of joining my course is that you can send me questions whenever you want on WhatsApp, whether it's a written question or a voice message to check if you're pronouncing something correctly, or if you want me to pronounce something for you. So, you know, if you need that direct contact with me and you feel like you haven't learned enough in this lesson, then of course I'm available to you if you join the course. Thank you very much for watching this lesson. Please give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. It's always a pleasure, guys. Thank you very much, and cheers. Bye.